There's something undeniably thrilling about being wanted. The texts that come through late at night, the way someone looks at you like they can't get enough, the passion that seems to ignite every time you're near. It's flattering. It makes you feel magnetic. It whispers to you that you're desirable, irresistible even. But what many don't realize in those moments is that being wanted doesn't always translate to being valued. Desire is easy. It doesn't ask for commitment. It thrives in the fleeting moments, the spark of a look, the electricity of touch, the excitement of what's new. When someone wants you, it can feel like they're pouring all of their energy into you. But that energy often burns fast and dies even faster, because being wanted is about the moment. Being valued, on the other hand, shows up in the days and weeks that follow, in the boring moments, in the quiet, consistent gestures. Someone can want you deeply and still not see you clearly. They might admire your beauty, your presence, your charm, and still never truly understand the depth of who you are, because wanting is surface level. It's about what you give them, how you make them feel. It's reactive. It responds to chemistry, not character. But when someone values you, it means they've taken the time to look beyond the surface, to see your soul, your fears, your dreams, and still choose to treat you with care and respect. When you're merely wanted, your worth often depends on how available you are, how exciting you feel, how easily you fit into someone's life. You're appreciated when you're convenient, when you're making them feel good. But that kind of connection is fragile. It disappears when you set boundaries. It fades when you need support instead of offering it. Being valued means someone shows up even when it's not convenient. It means they honor your boundaries because they respect you, not because it benefits them. There's a difference in how someone listens to you when they value you. They're not just hearing you so they can respond. They're hearing you so they can understand. They remember the small things you say because they matter to them. They follow through on what they promise, not because they have to, but because your trust means something. They don't disappear when life gets hard. They step up. Being valued is about consistent presence, not just intense desire. The tricky part is, wanting can sometimes mimic valuing in the beginning. The compliments, the attention, the gestures, they can look the same. But time is the real test. Does this person keep showing up after the initial thrill has worn off? Do they treat you with kindness when you're not at your best? Do they invest in your happiness when there's nothing in it for them? Being valued is about longevity, patience, and intentionality. It's not about how much someone craves you. It's about how much someone respects and includes you in the life they're building. Wanting often feels louder. It comes with fireworks and butterflies. It sweeps you off your feet. But being valued runs deeper. It might be quieter, even subtler at first. It shows up in actions, not just words. It lives in the everyday moments, in the check-in texts, the way they hold space for your feelings, the decisions they make with your future in mind. Wanting feels like you're on a roller coaster. Being valued feels like you've finally come home. It always feels good when someone shows up with passion. When they call you all the time at the beginning, when they can't seem to get enough of you, when every message feels urgent and every plan is spontaneous and exciting. In those first days or weeks, it can seem like this person is serious about you. Their interest feels magnetic and they say all the right things. You feel seen, adored, even prioritized for a moment. But early attention is not the same as lasting commitment. In the early stages, it's easy for someone to be consistent. Everything is new. You're still learning each other, discovering likes and dislikes, and finding magic in the unknown. People are often at their best during this time, not because they're pretending, but because the stakes feel low and the excitement feels high. It's not hard to show up for someone when there's no history, no expectations, and no emotional risk yet. But this is where many confuse being wanted with being genuinely valued. True value reveals itself through time. It's in how someone behaves when things aren't perfect anymore. It's in how they treat you once the newness wears off, once comfort replaces butterflies, and the everyday realities begin to show up. Do they still make an effort when life gets busy? Do they still prioritize quality time when it's no longer spontaneous, but something that requires planning and intention? These are the moments when the difference becomes clear. Wanting someone is quick. Valuing someone requires consistency. Anyone can be charming for a short time. Anyone can send good morning texts, show up with flowers, or say all the right words when they're trying to win you over. But consistency is harder to fake. The truth shows up over time, not in the beginning. You start to see how someone handles conflict, how they react to your boundaries, how they show up when you're not feeling your best. It's in those moments that you realize if you're just part of a phase or if you're someone they genuinely want to grow with. Valuing someone means they don't stop choosing you when the excitement fades. It means they still return your calls, still listen when you speak, still make time for you even after the thrill has quieted down. They don't treat you as background noise once the relationship no longer feels shiny. They show effort, not just during the highs, but especially during the lows. And that effort isn't forced, it's grounded in respect, in care, in real connection that doesn't need fireworks to survive. The short term will always look beautiful. It's dressed up in excitement and unpredictability. But short-term energy doesn't build anything lasting. Someone who values you is thinking beyond today. They're not just looking for connection when they feel lonely or need distraction. They're looking for someone to include in their life, someone to make room for in their future. And because of that, they build with patience. They don't rush the process. They want to understand you, not just impress you. It's easy to get swept up in the early magic, especially when someone seems all in from the start. But even the strongest beginnings can lose their spark if there's no depth underneath. Time reveals intention, and often the people who value you most aren't the loudest about it. They're not always dramatic or overwhelming in their displays of affection, but they are reliable. They're the ones who follow through, the ones who check in, who pay attention, who take small actions that slowly build trust. Being wanted in the short term feels powerful, but it's often based on emotion more than decision. People act on what they feel in the moment, and sometimes that intensity is real. But what's just as real is how quickly feelings can shift when they're not rooted in something steady. When you're valued, someone doesn't only act based on how they feel, they act on what they've committed to. They've chosen you, not just when it's easy or convenient, but even when it requires work and intention. When someone values you, you don't feel like you're chasing their time or attention. You're not left wondering where you stand or what they want from you. Their consistency becomes a form of security. You feel grounded, not confused. You trust their words because they've backed them up with action. And when life throws challenges your way, miscommunication, distance, hard conversations, they don't run. They stay. They work through it with you because your connection is something they've invested in, not just something they're passing time with. The beauty of being valued is that it grows. It starts with presence, builds with understanding, and deepens through shared experience. There's nothing rushed about it. You learn each other's rhythms, you find comfort in the ordinary, and instead of chasing moments of excitement, you begin to build something with meaning. It becomes less about what you do to keep their attention and more about how both of you show up time and again with honesty, patience, and care. You don't have to question where you stand when you're valued. You don't have to keep performing just to hold someone's interest. There's space for you to be fully human, to have off days, to express your needs, to grow at your own pace. When someone values you, they're not expecting perfection. They're walking beside you, willing to go through the process of building something that lasts. That kind of care doesn't fade. When the chemistry softens, it grows stronger in the stability you create together. Short-term wanting often leads to disappointment because it can feel like someone is all in, only to later disappear without explanation. But it's not that they lied, it's that their feelings weren't anchored in anything deeper. It was impulse, not intention. This is why taking your time matters. Getting to know someone through all seasons, the happy, the stressful, the uneventful, shows you whether their interest is built to last. Because it's not just about who shows up when things are new, but who stays when things are real. People who value you don't love just the version of you that smiles and makes life fun. They accept and respect the version of you that's vulnerable, that has doubts, that asks questions and needs support. They see all of you, and instead of pulling away, they lean in. They don't get scared when you reveal your truth. They appreciate it, because to them, closeness is about honesty, not performance, and real connection can't exist without that kind of emotional depth. When someone values you, they show up when it counts, not just when they feel like it, not just when the timing is right for them, but when you need them. They make space for your feelings. They show empathy, not avoidance. They're not here for the highs alone, they're here for the process, the learning, the realness that happens when two people are committed to more than just momentary happiness. They don't love the idea of you, they love the reality of you. Wanting will always look good in the moment, especially when it's intense and full of passion. But value is what holds relationships together when those initial sparks turn into steady flames. And while sparks fade, the warmth of something steady, honest, and lasting, something where you are appreciated and truly known, that's what gives love its deepest meaning. It feels amazing to be wanted. To walk into a room and watch someone light up just because you're there. To be the reason someone smiles a little bigger, texts a little faster, or plans their day around when they'll see you next. In those moments, it's easy to believe that what you're feeling is something lasting. You become the source of their joy, their attention, their emotional rush. And for a while, that can feel like the safest place in the world. But what's being celebrated isn't always your full self. It's often what you bring out in them. When someone wants you, it's usually about what you trigger within them. Maybe you make them feel seen. Maybe you make them feel attractive, powerful, less alone. And while all of those are beautiful things to offer another person, they aren't enough to build something real. Because when someone only sees you through the lens of what you give them, it's easy for the connection to become one-sided. You're not being loved for your soul, you're being loved for your effect. And those two things aren't the same. Being valued starts with being truly seen. It's when someone takes the time to understand who you are beneath the surface. They're not just interested in your laughter, your beauty, or your ability to hold a conversation. They want to know what keeps you up at night, what your past taught you, what your future looks like in your own eyes. It's deeper than admiration. It's attention with depth. It's choosing to love the whole of you, not just the parts that shine the brightest in the early stages. Wanting is emotional hunger. It's the rush someone feels when they experience something they like. It's the thrill of your presence, the comfort of your attention, the feeling of being desired in return. But that kind of hunger can disappear as quickly as it came. Because if the bond is built only on how you make someone feel, what happens when that feeling shifts? What happens when life gets hard, when you're not available in the same way, when your emotional needs start to surface too? To be valued means your humanity is held with care. You're not required to be perfect or to constantly perform emotional magic to keep someone close. You're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to have bad days. You're allowed to need support instead of always being the one giving it. And even when you show your imperfections, you're still chosen. Because the person who values you isn't here just for the highs, they're here for the journey of who you are and who you're becoming. Someone who wants you may celebrate your wins, but someone who values you sits with you in your losses. They see your vulnerability not as weakness, but as an invitation to connect more deeply. They don't withdraw when your confidence wavers. They don't disappear when you need more than what's convenient to give. They respond with patience. They choose understanding over judgment. Because their commitment isn't tied to what you offer, it's tied to who you are. There's a subtle kind of pressure that comes with only being wanted. You start to feel like you have to maintain a certain version of yourself, the happy one, the sexy one, the one that always says the right thing. You worry that if you ever show doubt, fear, or complexity, you'll somehow become less lovable. That's what happens when you're loved for what you do rather than who you are. But when you're valued, there's no mask to keep wearing. You're free to be honest. You're free to be real. People who truly value you ask questions others don't. They want to know what shaped you, not just what entertains you. They pay attention to your silence, not just your words. They notice when your energy changes and care enough to ask why. They don't just want your body, your time, or your attention, they want your truth. And they're willing to hold space for that truth, even when it's messy, even when it's hard to hear, even when it challenges their own. Being wanted can feel like you're on a pedestal, but pedestals are high and lonely. People see you from a distance, from a place of admiration that doesn't always leave room for depth. You become more of an idea than a person, but being valued feels grounding. You're not being idolized, you're being embraced. Your edges, your contradictions, your complexity, they're all part of what makes you worthy, and they're all welcome in the space you share with someone who truly sees you. There's a level of safety that comes with being valued that wanting alone can't offer. When someone values you, you don't have to wonder if your emotional needs are too much. You don't have to shrink to stay lovable. You're not afraid to speak your truth because you trust that it won't be used against you. That kind of safety doesn't come from intense attraction. It comes from intentional love. Love that's curious, not controlling. Love that listens instead of assuming. When someone only wants you, it often feels conditional. The connection is strong when things are light, when you're available, when you're making them feel good. But when life asks more from both of you, stress, distance, responsibility, that kind of connection often breaks. Because it wasn't built for pressure. It wasn't built to carry weight. But being valued is different. It shows up when it matters. It supports without needing a reason. It's less about intensity and more about investment. It's easy to fall into relationships where being wanted is confused with being valued. The chemistry is powerful, the words are persuasive, and everything feels like it's moving fast in the right direction. But the truth always unfolds over time. The way someone reacts when you're not easy to love, that's when their true character comes forward. Wanting can disappear in silence, but valuing continues even in difficulty. It's consistent. It grows through understanding, not through performance. You don't need to be the most interesting person in the room to be valued. You don't need to have everything figured out or always be strong. You just need to be yourself. And the right person, the one who sees you for more than what you offer, will meet you there. They'll reflect your worth back to you without trying to change who you are. They won't just want you when it's fun or easy. They'll show up when it's meaningful, when it's real, when it counts. Being wanted is about someone's need for connection in a moment. Being valued is about someone's choice to honor you as a whole person, not just a highlight reel. And when that choice is made not just once, but over and over again through consistent action, through effort, through presence, that's when you know the difference. Because it doesn't just feel good in the moment. It feels steady. It feels honest. It feels like home. It feels exciting when someone wants you. There's an undeniable rush that comes with being noticed, desired, pursued. You feel chosen. You feel special. Compliments come easily, attention is abundant, and everything about the connection feels magnetic. In those moments, it's easy to feel like you've found something meaningful. You're being celebrated in a way that makes you stand taller, but what's being fed in those moments is often your ego, not your deeper self. Value, on the other hand, reaches beyond the ego. It meets you in the places you rarely show others. It doesn't just respond to what you look like or what you offer, it responds to who you are when no one's watching. It doesn't fade when you stop being charming. It doesn't disappear when your confidence takes a hit. Because being valued is about being seen, accepted, and respected in a way that nourishes your sense of self, not just your sense of appeal. The ego loves recognition. It loves applause. It wants reassurance that it's enough, that it stands out, that it's admired. And those needs are part of being human. But when a relationship is built only on that level, it becomes fragile. You start chasing the next compliment, the next spark, the next moment of reassurance. You become dependent on someone else's validation to feel whole. And when the attention slows down, you begin to question your worth, not because it changed, but because it was never truly anchored. When someone values you, they feed something far deeper. They speak to your identity, not just your image. They connect with your mind, your heart, your history. They make space for your story, not just your strengths. And in their presence, you feel calm instead of just excited. You feel stable instead of just flattered. You feel like your presence matters, not for what it gives them, but for who you are, even when you're not performing, even when you're just being. Being wanted makes you feel like a highlight. Being valued makes you feel like a whole person. You don't have to constantly prove yourself or keep the other person interested. You don't have to entertain, please, or adapt just to stay relevant in their life. You're not just appreciated in your best moments, you're supported in your low ones too. You're not just impressive, you're important. And that kind of recognition doesn't shout, it shows up quietly, consistently, and meaningfully. The ego thrives on quick highs. It's fueled by flirty messages, impulsive attention, and the chase. It wants more, and it wants it fast. But the soul asks for something slower. It doesn't care how quickly someone falls for you. It cares how deeply they're willing to know you. It wants to be understood, not just admired. It wants to be respected, not just praised. And when that kind of connection happens, you're not left wondering, you're left feeling secure, grounded, and seen. A person who feeds your ego might say all the right things. They might know how to make you feel good, how to excite you, how to make you laugh. But a person who feeds your soul will ask better questions. They'll listen more than they talk. They'll notice your emotional shifts and care about your silence. They won't be threatened by your depth, they'll be drawn to it. Because they're not here just to have a good time, they're here to build something that honors who you are.